Hur är det med din mamma?
Inte så bra.
Du vet att det inte är ditt fel. Fan vad creepy. Vi måste ju gå ut. Vad är det för något?
Welcome everyone. I don't know why I'm so welcome to you guys, but we're already here. But thank you for joining me for another episode of The Creative Connection. We're here today to talk about Roots of Evil. Cindy, I'll preface that like a John Carpenter film, Cindy Stenberg's Roots of Evil. But yeah, I've spoken to Cindy before. For anyone listening or watching this, we've talked about Dreamcatcher and From Below. From Below I absolutely love, and I think that Annika, who's in that, I'm a big fan of hers. She reminds me of Valak from the Nun films.
Oh,
She's got this kind of unique kind of look, so she's cool. But yeah, welcome everyone. How are you all doing?
Very good, thank you.
Great, considering I haven't seen the sun for like 3 days.
Is that where?
Same, yeah.
Yeah, is that what it's like at the moment for you guys?
Yeah, snow and ice and nighttime, all day round.
So pretty much all around anger. That's what we're dealing with.
Right, I see. That sounds like it'll have an effect on anyone. But yeah, Cindy, I wanted to kind of start with yourself, and we'll kind of pass questions around between us, so it's not like we'll go between each person, but if you've got any kind of input into any of the questions we ask each other, I think we can kind of have a nice chat about Roots of Evil. So Cindy, how did you where did this original concept for Roots of Evil come from?
Well, I actually pretty much dreamt this story. Everything that's like from the beginning when the blackout happens and the Blackout City Market and the ritual with the flower scenes in the park, and also the final ending of the movie, that was in my dream pretty much. And what I've done after that is just to make it more of a dramatic curve. Who are these people that's happening? What's happening to them, and what is the phenomenon, and just kind of build a story around the gruesome stuff that I saw in my head.
So it seems like it's your dreamscape is like a scene from Midsummer. That's what it kind of gets a sense of.
Pretty much, yeah. I have very vivid dreams.
Do you keep a dream diary or notebook next to your bed? Is that what you do?
I used to have a more like wake up and write, but nowadays I just write when I have something that's I really need to remember this, like this one, and then I just either bring the computer to the bed and just start typing, or I just take my phone out with the notes and just write as much as I can, like support words, and then in the morning I can rewrite it on the computer. So that's how I usually work when I have a magic dream.
And when you've gotten to that stage, and especially with Roots of Evil, what's your kind of production process? When does the kind of producer side come in, and what's the next for any new filmmakers or filmmakers that are starting out? What's your next step once you've had that dream? How do you kind of process that so you've got a visual guide for other people to understand what's going on?
Well, I want to start with saying the rest of my movies that I've done before this were very cheap to make. And I wrote all of them with that in mind, to make them as cheap as possible. But I didn't really imagine myself getting the opportunity to make Roots of Evil, so I just wrote whatever I wanted to. And I knew that it was gonna be very costly, a high production budget. So it was just, I really wanted this story to come out to the world, so I just kept writing it, even though I knew somewhere at the back of my mind, like the producer part of me this is not gonna happen, this is never gonna happen, ever. This is too much money, it's not gonna happen. And then all of a sudden we started getting a lot of people involved, and people seemed to love it, and we still didn't have any money, of course, because it's a very complex story and it's hard to get the financiers to understand what it is that I want to create, especially when it's cosmic horror. But we did the Kickstarter to get the production going, and then Film Västerbotten, how do you say, communal? Regions
Film Fund.
Region Film Fund? Yeah. And they went in with further more money, and because of that we were able to actually finish the film. But it's been a lot of hard work from everyone, pretty much for free, and it's just a lot of passionate people bringing everything into this movie because they love the story. So I wouldn't say it's easy to get this done.
No, absolutely not. Would you say this is the longest film you'd written before? Because obviously, you can write anything anytime without obviously going into production. So was this the first kind of film you'd written that's over half an hour?
No, I've written longer movies. However, The Roots of Evil I think it's 14 pages, but it was intended to be cut with a very slow pace, and the actors were told to be more slow. So even if it's just 14 pages, the end result was, I think, 30 to 35 minutes, and then I cut it down to 31. But I've written features before that's not really gone into production yet, but I think Atrophy, the first movie, was 20 pages. And that one was cut down to 20 minutes.
With that in mind, and working on a lot of the award-winning short films like Dreamcatcher before, did you have a crew in mind, people you worked with before that you kind of reach out to? So how did you start bringing those people into the production?
I think everyone except Annika was all new, I think, actually. In the previous movies, I've always been working with Swedish Ghost Lovers or Malte and Isabel for Sour Love, the animation. So this one, I think everyone was all new to me, at least, but yeah.
And just a quick question to Ludvig and Ian. Had you seen Cindy's work before you worked with her?
Didn't you have some presentation at like Film Västerbotten's like film worker day? Because I think that's how we met, right?
I didn't have a presentation, but I was there.
Maybe you just showed me some stuff.
It was the first one.
Yeah. But I remember thinking, oh wow, that's a lot of cool stuff. And I think you put out like an Instagram story where you were looking for crew for The Roots of Evil. I think that's where I joined. I think I sent you guys an email saying, "Hey, this looks super rad. Do you want me to design it?"
Sounds about right, yeah.
And how about yourself, Ludvig? How have you seen any of Cindy's work before, and what do you think of her kind of previous shorts?
I mean, the Cindy reached out to me because I believe she knew an actor friend of mine, and she reached out to me and said, "I have this short film that I think that you would suit for, and if you'd like to audition for it." And from then on, I watched her previous shorts, and I just thought that I loved that she didn't go for she didn't do, what do you call it? I mean, it might be like the typical when you hear, okay, it's horror short, a Swedish horror short, it might
It basically
have some expectations.
it's not what's not obvious, is it? It's not like obvious horror in some respects. That's what I understood
Yeah,
from Cindy's early work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that she had her own spin on it, and you really noticed like she's very, what do you call it? I mean, she's really she knows horror in all its genres. She's like, she has all this previous knowledge about genre. So it was cool the way she could, get all these other influences into her work. So it's like I was very intrigued with working with her because she really felt that she had her own style in that sense. And it's cool to find someone that's unique within a specific genre, because a lot of horror is made in the same way, like Friday the 13th or like gore porn pretty much. So
Yeah.
I love the fact that this was more like psychological horror in sense of her previous shorts, and especially with Roots, and I really like that.
And how did you get involved, Ludwig? Was it an open casting call? How did you kind of find out about this
There was
production?
no casting call. It was just I saw him and I was like, please. It was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like 1 or 2 scenes from the film, I believe, and sent it to you, and then like a day or 2 later, and she said that I was the right fit. So yeah, it was,
Yeah, I knew
pretty-
I wanted you. I just wanted to check with the other producer. So
Okay. that makes me empathy here.
It's like when Ridley Scott reaches out, you know you're going to be working with that person. So as long as you've got the eye of the director, you're going to.
Oh yeah.
So Ian, I kind of wanted to, just a little kind of, how did you get into production? How did you get into designing? Was it storyboarding? And can you tell me a little bit about how you started to design the look and specifically the larger pieces of Roots of Evil, like the market? How did you kind of there's many facets to this question, but how did you get started in kind of production and filmmaking?
So it started out actually, I was going to school for VFX here in northern Sweden, and at the university there was a separate program for like production design and like stage design and prop design and stuff. And about halfway through the VFX schooling, I had made some friends who were studying that, and it seemed like it was way more fun than like the VFX pipeline aspect. It just appealed more to me, so I hopped off of VFX and applied again and came into the production design program. And yeah, I mean that's like how I got into working in film. The school had some contacts with different like industry people, so you would go out on an internship and work for a couple of months. I had my first internship with Sveriges Television, our big, like the Swedish BBC, and after that I started doing some other stuff. I worked one summer on a feature-length film that was done by a director named Ted Kjellson, who studied at the same school that I did, and then I've just kind of gotten swept up in it. Like the Swedish film industry works in the way that it's a lot smaller than you would think. Everyone knows pretty much everyone, and if you're working, like your name goes around, and everyone sort of figures out who you are, and if they want you for something, they'll call you. And so that's kind of like how I got started working with this, and then, as we were talking about earlier, I met Cindy at like the regional film worker meetup, and then saw that Instagram post where you were looking for crew, and I was like, oh man, I gotta work on this. So we emailed back and forth a little bit, and then we started talking about like what's the vision for this and who are the characters. I remember asking you for like, can you just write down like who these characters are and send it to me so I can start like figuring stuff out. And the major, like the two major sets in this film, the night market and the mother's apartment, were just like a lot of fun to work on. Or the whole like film really appealed to me because even though it was horror, it wasn't like bleak, just like blackness and grays and dark blues. There was a lot of underlying color in this, and it was just kind of that a contrast between having like really dark subject matter but also having really bright visuals. Really appealed to me. So I started treating these two different sets as like two different worlds, where like the mother's apartment is kind of like more muted pinks and greens. Those colors are picked right out of the wallpapers in the apartment there. And then at the night market, we have these more like vibrant oranges and blues, and there's some reds and yellows and stuff going on. And it was just so much fun to work on. Like that's what really like got me going. The inspiration for the night market for me came from there's this like hippie festival that I go to every year with a group of friends, and there's a market there that I visit every summer, and it just felt so much like the non-horror version of the night market in the film. So I was like, I've been to this market. I know what it looks like. I know what's there. I know who's selling what. It was just super natural in like the extremely natural sense to build it for me. And then the mother's apartment was also really like a place I had been, because in my head that was just my girlfriend's mom's apartment. So I was like, oh, I've also been here. I know that like she generally like decorates with these things. So I just picked out stuff that I knew would be in my girlfriend's mom's apartment, pretty much. I think the biggest challenge about that apartment was we were shooting it in Cindy's apartment, so like I had to go around and like de-goth everything.
Oh,
that's a good word, de-goth.
That's the title of this interview. That's the title of this de-goth.
I mean, like, I love the way that you've decorated your apartment, but like middle-aged woman, it just didn't fit in the storytelling sense. But you've got like a bunch of cool, like, you got some bats and the Stegosaurus lamp
Some
and skulls and so much cool stuff. And I was like, all right, we gotta dial this back, and we gotta put more of like a normal Svensson vibe into this household.
Yeah, I love that de-goth. I'm gonna make a note. But yeah, that's really interesting to see. And I interviewed a filmmaker called Vincenzo Natali. He directed Cube, and he's worked on Westworld and some huge shows. And he co-produced The Peripheral on Amazon with Jonathan Nolan. And he was telling me how the Canadian film school worked, and having a network of close-knit people that you could kind of reach out to. So actors that we absolutely love would be just like a school friend of his he'd asked to be in a project or a big film. So it's really interesting to hear how that works from a kind of Swedish point of view, because that's something that when we think of I'm going to use it sounds like a general term for Danish and Swedish and Finnish content, but kind of Nordic content is thriller, and and there's some great stuff over the last 10 years or so that's kind of gone worldwide, and it's really fascinating to see how people start out in the industry from Sweden. So it's really kind of fascinating. Ludvig, how did you start as an actor? Where did you act up as a child at home? Kind of. So how did you kind of start?
Man, from the beginning. I mean, I wanted to become an actor after I saw. I I was like a 6-year-old just roaming YouTube. I might be been a bit too young to start it, just like typing and searching stuff on YouTube. But I found the interrogation scene between Heath Ledger's Joker and Christian Bale's Batman from The Dark Knight. And I didn't know a word of English at that point, and I was just so intrigued by like, what the hell's going on here? I mean, this the tension those guys had between them two. I don't understand how I, as a 6-year-old, got intrigued by that, but it just speaks to their level of like talent and the chemistry there. So I was just really intrigued, and then I pretty much from then on was like, I want to become an actor. So I started as like when I was 11, I think I started to like actually search for jobs. I went to like theater school, and I got some work as as an 11-year-old, and then from like the past 10 years I've just been searching and taking all the jobs that I can and just building my network, and it's slowly but gradually become more and more work. And as Ian said as well, it's
with your theatre,
the industry is so small, so it's insane how like every single job that I've done has helped with like a job 5 years down the line. It's so weird how like it really shows that if you just be like, just do your job and be a kind person, and people will remember that. So
that's so true, because I think it can definitely, there's an like in Stranger Things, there's an upside down version of that. So if you cast a huge rock and you create these negative ripples, I think that it'll have that reverse effect of pay it forward. So it's really fascinating to hear. Did you find it different when you went to theatre school? Were you taught how to act on camera as opposed to acting on stage?
I've been to a total of like 3 separate kind of acting schools, if you say like that. One was like during like your free time, like courses. It was everything from like theater to like classic theater to film acting, how to create film. I did that for like 5 years. Then I went to gymnasium, which is pretty much like high school over in Sweden, and they had a theater program. I went there for 3 years, and I just graduated from a what's called folk high school. I don't know if the actual term in English, but it's like a higher degree of education where it's just straight up theater. But it's, to answer the question, it's like I've studied both, mostly theater, but a lot of like acting in front of film. But I've noticed like that you learn by doing, and it's just like
Absolutely.
The last couple of 2 years that I've really been comfortable with also the differences between the two. So it's just been, I think I've done a total of like 45 separate like films and stuff like that. So it's really just fine tuning, and now I think I know how to do some stuff at least. But I mean, it's fun. It's always like you can never like you're never going to become perfect, and I love that you're always going to grow and find new stuff. And like I learned a lot from just doing roots because there was just the intensity of it all.
There's a lot of meat on the bones for yourself, I guess. That there's the camera's on you 90% of the time. So it must have. Was it daunting, or did kind of Cindy help you kind of guide you through? What was that like to look at the pages? Because it's obviously very exciting as well that you got this prospect of working on this film, and there was a lot of you on screen. So how did you kind of rehearse? What was your kind of process for finding the character?
I got the call from Cindy about the project, like I think almost like a year before. So it's like it was a long, like when we finally started the shoot, it really felt like we've done a lot of homework beforehand. So it's like it wasn't next week. So you got to do your homework a bit. but I don't remember that we got to like rehearse that much. It was mostly like we had to talk about like the character and what the character represents and what story are we trying to tell here. And I just love the fact that that Liam was pretty much a walking panic attack, and he had to like he doesn't know how to like express himself. He's just like he believes that he's like dug himself like this hole, and he just doesn't have any way out of it. Just a desperate son, pretty much, and. I just love the fact that also that the character isn't dialogue driven. There's barely any dialogue from my part, so I really have to like, and I love like playing with like subtleness, so that you have to really use like opposite overacting.
That's a really it's a really important that's a really good point actually in terms of and there's a really good comparison on Netflix I'll mention in a sec, but performing on screen there's and without the dialogue there's so much work there and practice and kind of really hone your craft. If you look at The Killer, you know, David Fincher's new film The Killer, and you look at what Michael Fassbender has to do for pretty much the entire film, it's on screen, it's performance, obviously it's driven by a voiceover narrative that way.
And No One's Gonna Save You. That horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
movie.
It's like, you know, there's great skill to be had there, and like there's an amazing cartoon called Samurai Jack, and in Samurai Jack when there's no other characters, it's just him walking through a landscape or, you know, killing something or whatever it is, or protecting himself. So I think there's great kind of performance out there. I think he did a great job because I think that some actors might rely on script as a bit of a crutch. You know, they'll over rely on the words and the dialogue to kind of get them out of a scene. But no, I think he did a great job with what your performance. So what was it? What was it? This can kind of go to Ian or Ludvig. What was it like working with Cindy?
Well,
It was.
We'll disconnect. We'll disconnect Cindy. It's all right.
No, it was great. I mean, I had like just total creative freedom. It felt like it was really nice to work with someone whose idea of what she wanted was both so specific but also free form, that I knew what she wanted and I knew how to get to that point using the tools that I already have. It was just really I don't want to say easy because we did the film over a weekend, and that's 31 minutes of film in like 3 days, which is last time I checked impossible. But no, it rocked. I liked it.
And how about yourself, Ludwig? What was it like being directed by Cindy?
I mean, it just on what Ian said. I mean, it without a doubt is like the most intense shoot I've ever been a part of. I mean, maybe not like the most physically demanding, but just like almost like the most mentally. It's I mean, also like my characters also is only in like this exhausted state of mind and trying to be being in that. I think we shot for like 5 days straight. I was like 18-hour days almost. So yeah, it was also fun because it pretty much felt like boot camp. So it felt like all of us in the team got very close after the fact, because we've been through like this really
We've been through hell.
We've been through hell. No, but I had a lot of fun, and I really liked to work with Cindy. I really like the. I mean, I'm playing the lead, so of course I really got to work one-on-one with Cindy. There was a lot of focus on I mean, the scenes has to be right, and she has to help me to get in the right state of mind for those scenes, like especially the close-ups. She really had like it's almost like a constant discussion about what it, I mean, what are we trying to tell here? What is the underlying like the chaos within, pretty much, that we're trying to express here. So it was fun. It was intense, but it was really fun to just like really get to like exchange ideas, and it was like a living form of life. If you see. So it was a really fun process, I'd say.
Absolutely. But without kind of, I've got a really big question for Cindy in just a moment about the film. But I knew Cindy from a couple of film festivals she entered that I produced and I created. And the first thing I like Ian pointed out, social media was so on point when it comes to marketing, and then drawing people into the sphere of Cindy, or the uncanny whirlpool. But yeah, it's. Just kind of props to you, Cindy, because it's such a big step up for yourself from short films that are extremely well produced, and that's the biggest compliment I give you. The production, direction, writing, and to give Ian and everyone else that bit of freedom, because you could go the other way. You could go full maniacal and want to oversee everything, and the lack of trust might not be there. So kind of props to you, Cindy. What was that like to kind of step up with the size of the crew and have so many people involved? What was that like for you?
It was daunting, to say the least. I'm very introverted, and I don't like speaking if too many people is watching me. But I just felt like, Cindy, get over yourself, like leave your introverted self at the bed, and this time you're just gonna do the work. You know you can do this, you have to lead, and I just couldn't listen to my head too much. It was definitely just, it felt like I had so many people's trust. All of a sudden, it's not like 5 people or 10. It was closer to, I think 50 during the market scene. And it just felt like people are giving themselves and their time to this project, and I just felt like I can't fail them, and that was very daunting and scary. But at the same time, I haven't met like a crew family by that standard, and like working professionally with a film before, so that felt very nice, and I feel like I could trust the team, and they knew what they were doing as well. So in my chaotic moments, I could just like chill the fuck out and let's do this, and it was good.
Absolutely. So was the visualization of the film, was that something you had boards for Ian and other people within the production? How do you kind of translate how you wanted it to look?
I made this kind of, a Bible with ideas, and like very easily, like, put a bunch of images together. Like, this is for costume, this is for set design, this is for Liam, this is for Hannah, and just put all the pieces together and then share them with the team. And if there was any questions, I would just like, oh, it's a reference from this and this movie and this and that. Like the marketplace with the lanterns that the people are holding at the market. That's from Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass, for instance. So I just kept going back to references if anyone had any questions, pretty much.
Which is freaking golden.
Awesome.
I mean, it's so nice to have someone who has like a reference book in their head where they're like, oh, you're confused about this? Look at this thing. And then they point you in the right direction and you see it and you go, I see what you're talking about now. So that was really helpful to, like, I mean, just have those films where, like, anytime I had a question, Cindy had an existing reference that I could reference.
I bet there were some very obscure references in that Bible as well.
Yep.
One or two maybe.
But yeah, it's and what was it like? Because obviously there's three stages to a film. There's obviously the pre-production, production itself, and then the post. How did you find Raymond Enoksen to score your film? How did that kind of come about?
I think it was 2 years ago. I was in a film meeting up in Norway, and I saw a presentation of one of the filmmakers there, and he showed his film and the score that they had, and I was so mesmerized by the music they had made, and so I wrote to the composer Raymond, and I just started to speak with him, and we still chat like every now and then, so we became very friendly. And then when this movie came up, I was like, well, maybe he would be interested in scoring it, even though he's like this famous person. But I mean, I can only ask. And then he said yes, and I was like, I'm sorry, what now? Okay, well, great. So yeah, I think it was good. It's not the typical movie to score. It's very complex. So the first draft he made, it was not the vibe that I wanted, so he had to completely remake the music. And then I gave some notes, I got another one that was closer to what I wanted, gave him some more notes, and then after that he came up with the finished soundtrack, and it works very good.
That's because the music in the score it's you can probably all attest to this. It's like when you see a Spielberg film, you've got John Williams track. It's just elevates everything, doesn't it? So I think the score by Raymond is fantastic. It really is. And the big in terms of visual and world building, I think this is the best realized film from yourself, Cindy, because you've got the setups with Blackout City, the town, and the event, having that event around enveloping the constant panic attack that Ludvig was going through. It really kind of created something special. So, what was just on that question? Did you have to decompress Ludvig after the film?
Are you asking me?
Sorry,
yeah, Ludvig. Did you have to decompress as an actor after this?
Oh, okay. That was a question to Cindy. I pretty much went to rehab after that. It really was like a really intense experience, and I was like in the middle of I was studying as well, so I had to take leave school for like a week, and I came back as a total wreck. But I was so, it was like when you've like worked out like harder than you've done in your entire life, and everything hurts, but you're like, I'm still proud of myself. I'm very proud of what we've made, pretty much. So yeah, it was a daunting task. It was very taxing on the body and mind, but it was so worth it. I also had a lot of fun during the shoot as well, because a lot of I get to become friends with a lot of cool people, including Cindy and you, Ian. So it was a cool experience.
I think one of the days I took a shot and sent on Snapchat to my friends, and I looked like someone had run me over with a car. I was so tired. And I mean, my eyelids were just bulging out, and I was so tired. I think that was the latest day we went, so it was like 18 hours or something. And me and Viggo stayed up to make the schedule for the next day, which was 3 hours. So it was like I looked like shit.
Because I'm not sure if, obviously you shot everything within 3 days. Was there any past those 3 days, was there any insert shots or anything you shot or produced after the fact?
After we shot it from Thursday to Sunday, and when everyone left on Sunday, it was just me, Ludvig, and Theo, the DP, left, I think. Or was it Saturday? No, Sunday. And between beers and food, we just shot the final stuff that we knew we'd missed, well, I went through the memory and just like, oh my god, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Okay, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. So it's like I'm just remembering the shots that I knew we didn't take and did that between beer and food, and it was that.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like some of the greatest films ever have to do something like that, because you may know the story of how they did the Ben Gardner's head. You know, when his head comes through in the boat in Jaws underwater, they shot it in the editor's swimming pool. So they shot it there in the bottom of a swimming pool just to get that shot, because they'd missed and hadn't filmed that sequence. So. It's when you're down a couple of beers and you have to shoot something else, it's like the worst and the best feeling as well.
At least it was just the letters scene when he's like giving over the letters in the ending, and then also when he's covering the post-it sign. I think it was those two.
Absolutely.
That
So
And
and
also like opening and closing doors as well, I think.
The classic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Super
yeah.
intense.
Just reverse it if you
Just
only kind of
chugging beer
open
at the
it.
side.
Yeah. Ian, did you keep any souvenirs off from the set?
I mean, like a lot of the stuff was out of my my personal storage. I kept a bunch of like Hitchcock youth novels. There's like a little green section of books here. That's all like just books I found at a secondhand store that are different like horror things, and they have really interesting covers and stuff. But yeah.
And you gave me some stuff.
I mean, there was so much stuff in this film. Like, I remember when we were doing when I was setting up the night market, I backed my car onto this little section of gravel road up by this, it's sort of an open air museum of like stuff from back in the 1800s ish, in Umeå. And I'm just unloading my car, and like the stuff never ends. Like, I have this huge 3 by 5 meter tarp, and it just gets covered in like books and clothes and textiles and chests and drawers and just everything. There was so much stuff in this like film. And a lot of that is up in my attic right now. But yeah, I kept it. Yeah.
Mine too. I still have a few stuff.
It's like
And I got the bed.
your attic must be like the Warrens' house in the Conjuring.
Oh hell yeah, man! I mean,
You know, with that room they have with all the dolls and everything.
everything
yeah.
is cursed with like the the spirits of different dead production assistants. It's just haunted
Yeah.
as fuck.
It's what I did like, and it's something you alluded to before, that I loved how the hospital room was really kind of sterile feeling, and then the film has a production quality to it, that everything's on screen. Like the stalls were all dressed really well, like the stall that's surrounded by effectively dead people. It just had this, every little stall had its own little atmosphere. And that's what I loved about that set especially.
Thank you.
And then, how long did it take you, Cindy, to re-goth your apartment?
I think it took about a week. It was so much to clean. It was never ending. I had to call in sick from my regular day job because I couldn't be at work. It was just so. I was just exhausted, and I had to clean up, and I was like, I feel like shit. Just like
Yeah.
Ludvig said, like it's so much fun, but it's also exhausting, and your body feels it. So, yeah.
Because it was like it's like multiple marathons for yourself, because you've got the writing and the production. So, how long from when you had that dream to the first screening of the film? What was that kind of time period?
I think maybe, a year or so. from when I wrote it to actually shooting it, and then a year in post-production.
And then when you, because I saw you post on social media, you're going to have a turn your brain off for a couple of weeks after. So did you manage to get some rest after that, after the film was finally shown?
I think I got maybe 2 weeks, and then was back into business and traveling around on film festivals and that kind of thing. But at least I didn't have to work. I just had to be socially working, so it was all right. It was nice to be at least in the cabin when I pretty much had no social media or internet.
You need that little device that Hermione Granger uses, to go to different classes. That's what you need. You need that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and then you could set someone to do your. As an actor friend of mine says, Joe job. Send that version of yourself to do that, and then you can focus just on your film. I just wanted to ask. This is a question for Ludvig. What was your experience on Estonia like? Because I noticed one of your credits on Estonia. It looks really intriguing. So what was that like for yourself?
That was, for my language, a real shit show. It was, it's one. I'm gonna clear, but it wasn't a shit show. That it was a bad experience. Absolutely not. It was just the entire experience was something I never been a part of before, and just the scale of everything. I don't know if you've seen Estonia.
It's terrific, and that's the reason it kind of pricked my ears up. I thought it was fantastic, and there's a lot of Nordic drama and everything that is just of a higher level. And from a production point of view, from myself and a lot of friends, we love all sorts of stuff from Borgen to The Killing, all sorts of films like that. So was it really tough? Was it massively demanding? What was it that was a shit show but not a shit show?
It was not a shit show.
We can cut that out. We can cut that out. Don't worry.
Poor choice of words. No, I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was just also intense, pretty much. It was I had 3 shooting days in 3 separate countries, and it went from Belgium in like a water studio where it's by far it's like the biggest, like budget-wise, biggest project I've been a part of, and that was the first very physical role I've had, where it's spoiler alert, someone who has watched it. It's I'm pretty much I play one of the first victims of the of Estonia, that they first see the incident and then later on an interview. And that sequence in the start, where I'm part of it, that was a very long day, and it was you were pretty much constantly wet, and you had to climb in very awkward positions to keep people from falling, and so it was fun because you didn't have to act. You were just constantly terrified. So it was like a method acting in a sense. And then we shot in Turkey, and for the outside scenes, and that was I've never been that cold in my entire life, because we were also drenched. But when it's wind machines outside, it gets really cold. So it also nice because my character was supposed to be cold, so it was you really got to feel the physical aspect of the entire thing. Not close to the actual incident, but as an actor, it helped. And there was a pretty much long day in Finland for the interview scene. But it was also cool because you never get to shoot in chronological order. As due to scheduling, you have to start sometimes with the end and then doing the start and then the middle, and But this time I actually got to shoot chronologically. First the so I like for myself, like during the 4 months, like the span, you really got to experience the way the audience sees the scenes. That was the way I shot it as well. So it's a cool experience.
That's awesome, man. Next time I watch it, and because my wife wants to see it now, and I've watched it, I'll say it's a bit of a shit show for Ludwig, and but yeah, it's all good. I know to any of the producers or directors, he meant that in a very positive way. It was an intense experience that paid off in the end.
Yeah. Yes. It was not that shit show. My English is failing me like hard today.
Yeah.
It was great. I promise.
Yeah, blame it on the Englishman from the northwest of England. So just blame it on me. Before we go, can you? Is there any kind of projects you want to tell me that you're kind of working on? And I see, Cindy, you've got a pigeonhole and trick coming up. Is that much further down the line? And what else are you guys kind of working on at the moment?
Well, Pigeonhole is in late pre-production, so we're looking for funding, and we are assembling the team and discussing with the animators and about like motion capture and CGI and how we're going to build the film. So that's going pretty good. Trick is a feature, so it's still in development, but it's moving forward, and I'm gonna take some time off my regular day job to write in December and January. So hopefully I will be able to have something to actually pitch by 2024 and maybe get to do a feature one day.
Oh, awesome. You've definitely, before we kind of chat to Ian about what he's working on, you've got it within you, Cindy, because you know I'm a big believer in your work, because it's almost like, I'll say this, I'll preface this, pre-Disney, you're like the Kathleen Kennedy of directors. That's how I see you. You got your producer head, writer, director. So, but pre-Disney, because Disney's just a shit show for me, and Star Wars. So, but no, it's and as soon as I saw the artwork on your Uncanny website, I absolutely loved it. I'm just intrigued straight away. So, Ian, have you got anything coming up?
I've had a pretty intense year, so for like the next month or so, I'm just taking it easy. Not really doing anything. I'm maybe going to join in on Pigeonhole. It looks super rad, and I think we could do some pretty cool stuff with that. But otherwise, I'm just kind of floating around right now, taking it easy. Want to give a quick shout out to Theo and the Rosso brothers, though, from Roots. Because I worked pretty tight with them, Theo being the DP and the Rosso brothers being the VFX. It was a freaking dream working with them. Theo and I have worked together on like La Samaya and other things. So we already knew each other, and the Rossos, they really like brought a bunch of the set pieces to life and really augmented what was there in front of the camera.
And how about yourself, Ludwig? What have you kind of got going on at the moment?
I'm actually going, like in 20 minutes, going to shoot. I'm working on a short with some guys in Gothenburg. It's like one of the most intense things. That's probably like the most intense thing I've shot. But I have from like the coming year, I have different acting stuff regarding different like short films and other stuff, and I'm actually producing my own short film at the moment with a producing friend of mine, and it looks like we're getting somewhere. So I've just been writing, because the script and everything comes from me, and it's been a bit of a passion project. So it's going to be fun to show the world what we've been working on. Yes.
I've got a cosplay in mind for you, Ludwig, that you could do for Christmas. A great one. You know, I take it you've seen Die Hard.
Yeah, I've seen Die Hard. Yeah.
Do you know the guy that gets put in the lift with the ho ho ho? Now I've got a machine gun jumper on. You'd be able to rock that. You just Google ho 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 Die Hard. are that guy. You are that guy.
It was such a long time ago I saw Die Hard. I have to rewatch
That
it
would
now.
definitely be one to one. I mean, that's.
Do it in.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right? Yeah. That's my jumper for Christmas.
I'm
is
taking
that
it
one
as a
from Die Hard.
compliment.
A massive one, yeah. All you need is
Yes.
some metal glasses, the pale jeans, and this jumper, and then that's it. You're golden then, yeah.
I should have brought my glasses.
No, don't worry. When we finish now, you definitely just Google "ho ho ho Die Hard" and you'll know straight away. But yeah.
Yes.
Cindy, Ian, and Ludvig, thank you so much for being on the Creative Connection podcast. If there's anything else any of you want me to kind of post out or post on my Hellbound Horror Festival website, I'm super happy to kind of help you guys in any way I can. And please continue to pester me, Cindy, for the quotes and reviews and everything you need for Roots of Evil. Because what I'm going to do is, there's a great filmmaker friend of mine that called Ian Rayburn. I think, Cindy, you probably know him. He's a fantastic filmmaker from Canada, and we're going to do a late night reviewing of this film together. We're trying to get it done before Christmas, so we're going to watch it. We're probably going to record whilst we watch it. There might be little clips within it, so you'll see our reactions and that. So yeah, I'm sure he's going to love it. I absolutely love the film. So congratulations with Roots of Evil. But I'll see you all soon.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.